else will break your heart. I'm never gonna hold you back. I'm always gonna have your back.
Hello, hello, beautiful people. Welcome to 321 No Kiddin. Buddy the Awesome here. I think I've been forgetting to announce myself. I'm just talking to you like you're a passenger in my car. Today's reading is the October 8th, and it kicks off with a quote from the program Waltz. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Wow, I just pictured people dancing in my head. I have to tell you, actually, before I get into this reading, there's been a lot of discussion lately. I was having a discussion with someone, and then someone different had the same kind of feedback for me. We were talking about podcasting and about, why we do it, or, showing up. How perfect is it with the audio quality, or is it about what the content is? And as you know, I'm a believer in the content. My book is falling apart, by the way, guys. I'm so freaking upset. My One Day at a Time book that we're using, or Body, Mind, Spirit book that we use. So anyway, I appreciate the fact that you put up with my less than perfectionism in recording. I do appreciate that. I will continue to try to be here with you every day. I got some heavy duty driving coming up at the end of next week. So I don't know what the schedule will look like, but I will do my best to maintain it. I have been working on sorting through my plan for the final leg of the trip, and I was supposed to stop in Nebraska to meet a classmate, and come to find out her and her family have COVID, which I'm, sad for them, and at the same part, glad I didn't go through there on the way here. That would have been very bad. So I'm sending them well wishes. And that's one less stop, but I am going to still work my way to Kansas City and to Florida before getting home. And I think I will be home by the end of the month. So I'm making progress. I'm thinking it'll be later October. So anyway, let me share you a reading now that you know how you'll have to put up with me. And yes, I owe you guys a Step 10 show. We will get into that as soon as I have a nice chunk of time where I can sit in front of the computer, because I did not bring that book with me. I thought I would be home in time. And if it turns out I am, I will use, if I think I'm going to be home in time, I'll use that. Otherwise, just please keep checking in. The Friday releases with the interviews are going to be so amazing. The lineup that I have coming is just, I've learned so much. I was so impressed, and very powerful stories. So, okay, without further ado, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. At a meeting one time, we heard a woman simplify the program in a unique way. She was struggling with many issues all at once. She was having trouble working the steps. She was wrestling with marital and job problems. She said that what has been the most helpful to her is the program Waltz. This, she explained, is her way of simplifying recovery. Whenever she feels overwhelmed, she goes back to the first 3 steps. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. In this way, she said, she concentrates on the principles that help her most in times of need: powerlessness, surrender, and letting go. These first 3 steps help her get centered and remind her of the thoughts and spiritual guidance that help her most. Sometimes we can end up spinning our wheels in the program, and we find we must move on and take a 4th step in order to stay balanced. It's nice to know, though, that all the steps are all available to us, that we can go back and start over when we need to. Although 1, 2, 3 may not be as effective for all of us, it can be a useful tool for focusing on the basics in our own recovery. Today, I am thankful for the wisdom of those who are in recovery with me. Wow. So that's true, right? If we expose ourselves to other people in recovery and we just listen, we can get so many nuggets and so many things that are helpful. At least that's been my experience. If we listen, and then, the next step might be applying. So this reading kind of captures simplifying recovery, in a way, giving ourselves a solid baseline that can help us cope with pretty much all of life. Powerlessness, surrender, and letting go. And we talk about these all the time, whether we call it that or not. But the powerlessness, to me, interprets as the serenity prayer, really just knowing that we don't have control over everything. I can't control everything, and I need to when I can't, surrender, which means, like just easing into it, not fighting, because that resistance creates a whole other kind of, I want to say, shit in our negative bucket. Like if we're fighting, nothing good comes out of it. So surrendering to just life on life's terms is another one of the cliches in the rooms. And it's true. We're still suffering through COVID. So school's different, work's different. So many things are different. We can't do all the things we wanted to do. And we just we can't control that. So we're powerless over COVID. We have to surrender to the new way of life that, the experts who are doing the best they can tell us to follow, follow the rules, do the thing, and then letting go. So those first two things don't work, I don't believe, real well without the letting go of what we can't control or the things that we need to. Like, I could walk around with a scowl on my face every day about COVID and be like, this sucks, like we all could. What do you mean I couldn't take an airplane to travel to do all my vacations this year? I was powerless over that. And I had to just surrender to that, which I did, which in the background helped me move the needle on my life and my businesses and all of that. And then, if I didn't let go of it and I just sat there in misery, I wouldn't have been productive. And letting go of that stuff, those feelings, and don't get me wrong, I'm not invalidating your feelings. Like, you should be able to feel angry, hurt, miserable, whatever you're feeling. That was the point of us starting to get together at the beginning of COVID so that we could process our feelings. At least I processed mine out loud. I hope that it helped you process yours along the journey. I feel like we're at this next stage, though, where depending on where you live and what's going on and what the decision makers are saying, that it almost feels like it could be back to normal on some level. But then there's these speed bumps, and sometimes we just don't know. I know here, my uncle's telling me different things like, the movie theater Regal is considering, I don't know if it's closing down or going bankrupt. And there's a lot of other businesses that are in that same kind of situation. And, I don't know that in business you can kind of let go, but let's say that you loved going to the movies and you had your favorite seat and your favorite spot. And I'm really going into a very generic example here, but your cinema closed down. You're powerless over that. And you have to surrender to the fact you might have to change theaters. Now, old Bobby, and maybe she shows up sometimes, when I get bitter about something, I used to never let it go. Like, you'd still hear about it. And I think I get this. Like, I think my mother's still mad at McDonald's and Lake compounds from 20 years ago. So I don't know if that's where I get that. Is it hereditary to not let go of things? Yeah, it doesn't work though, for the end game. If we hang on to it, it just stays in our bucket. I don't have time for a negative bucket. You don't have time for a negative bucket. So this reading talking about just going back to the simple way of letting it go, being powerless, and just surrendering to the moment and going with the flow. I promise you, your life will be much happier if you can learn how to do these things. I don't always get my way. I have a lot of things that I'm not in control of. And I just found myself, actually, as I'm talking to you, I'm realizing there's things I can control that I'm stressing out about a little bit and putting pressure on myself. And then there's things I can't control and I need to just chill. Like, what good would the stress give me if I hung on to having pissy pants about the things I couldn't control? It's just not good for us, guys. It's just not good for us. So it says we can end up spinning our wheels in the program and find that we must move on and take a fourth step in order to stay balanced. And as we get into the 10th step for October, it's kind of like, the way I look at it is, the fourth step is when we do our super deep digging, right? And we acknowledge all of our stuff and any of the bad actions we did. Because, oh, by the way, we're not bad people. We're just good people who did some bad things when we were using. when we were gambling. So step 4 helps us clean house on that. And then step 10 is doing it every day. As far as if we do bad things or things that are not representative of who we want to be, we have an opportunity to clean house daily on those. And I think what this reading is saying is that this lady, instead of even getting so deep into that she just goes back to the basics. Like, okay, I'm having a bad day and I'm gonna, I'm not gonna go gamble because of it. I'm gonna recognize that, my gambling addiction wants to drive me back. That's not good. So I'm gonna be powerless over that and surrender to the fact that I'm having urges or that I've had a trigger or something that's made me want to go gamble, and then letting go of whatever's driving that. I know, easier said than done. I get that. But if we start practicing and we start practicing on the good days, that's when it starts coming together and it gets easier to manage on those other bad days when stuff shows up. And then on the good days, and when we're in a routine and when we're living our life in a recovery kind of way where we're committed and we're acknowledging it and looking at it every day and trying to move forward, that's when we could do some of the harder work, because we'll have our positivity filled up in our buckets and we'll just be able to move forward a little bit. So don't be hard on yourselves. I don't know if you are or aren't today, but don't be hard on yourself. I'm trying to not be hard on myself, as I want X, Y, and Z done, and I want to be moving the needle on things that I'm not, but I've committed to, I don't want to say goofing off or whatever. I've committed to visiting and doing this soul searching trip. And it'll be really interesting to see what I come up with. I've already, had some deep conversations as far as values and ideals. And I've had some great quality time with people that are important to me. And I'm about, halfway through my journey. So I know that I'm going to learn at least what I've already learned. Never mind geography fun stuff as I take a little random loop down to Florida from Denver. So yeah, that's what I got. We gotta simplify it. And if 1, 2, 3 is what helps you simplify it, then go for that. And maybe it's not just these words. Maybe it's not powerlessness, surrender, and letting go. Maybe it's just addressing things, or maybe it's the concept of being present. Maybe it's, going back to what we learned about the other day with resentment. Maybe it's letting go of resentments. Whatever those things are, that's what we need to be doing. Like I said, I promise you, if you do this stuff, it will make your life so much more beautiful, and you'll be able to be grateful because you're not tied up in the nonsense of the little things or the things that used to be important that don't have to be important now. So this was a good reading, a good reminder to go back to basics. And wow, what just jumped in my head was math problems. Like, my little cousin, I guess, is really frustrated by math and decimals and fractions and all that stuff. And I could remember being a kid too and thinking, what do we need math for? I think actually my ex-husband used to say, what do we need algebra for? But so many other things that build on it. I mean, you need decimals to balance your checkbook. And do people still balance their checkbooks? But they're all building blocks. And that's what this is saying, is the building blocks of, I guess, relinquishing control. And control's another whole topic, right? But if you can relinquish control and just manage the moment until you can let it go, until you can surrender and just embrace whatever's happening, it's positioning yourself well for the rest of your non-gambling days. And eventually it becomes habit. So practice makes perfect, right? So I will challenge you guys today to be thinking about that. Are you taking on too much even when it comes to your recovery? How are you handling things that come your way? Just start looking at those things. Be mindful of those things. What can it hurt, right? If you have a shot of making your life better, it's worth putting a little effort into it, in my humble opinion. All right, guys, I will get off my little soapbox on that topic and I will let you go. I will check in with you for our October 9th reading. It's kind of fun, right? 10-9, and then we go to 10-10. Yes, I'm obsessed with numbers this month. I don't know why I like October so much. Maybe it's because I got married in October, you know, once upon a time, or maybe because of 10-4, maybe 10-10. I don't know. I like it all. I hope you're having a great week, guys. I love you all. I appreciate you being with me and tuning in. It's an honor to share my journey with you. Thanks so much. So long.